stand behind it that search is always going to be the most efficient play, unless it is a new category and something that people don't search for. In that case, a lot of times when you get into B2B, display might be a better tactic. So we've had some experience when you get into B2B advertising. Some people will search for a particular thing, but like project management. Project management is about $20 per click keyword, very expensive, and there's a lot of players out there that are advertising there. So it would be very difficult for you to make an impact and get some efficiencies there, because especially as a small company, if you are, you're going to have a limited budget. Versus, what is the chance of someone that is in need for project management that's going to a project management in the industry? They're probably going to be doing a lot more word of mouth and a lot more research. So that's where, say, display, we found that, say, newsletter advertising or standalone email advertising, where you're aggressively going out and finding the target and getting the message in front of them, getting them aware that you have an offering that might make sense for them. In those types of cases, certain tactics might be more efficient. But all in all, especially when you get into B2C, and it's a product or a category that's already well established, search is going to be by far the most efficient tactic, in my experience.
Excellent. Anybody else want to share an anecdote or comment on that one?
I would say from my personal experience that I disagree a bit with that. For us, search engine marketing isn't the most efficient tactic, and we have all sorts of channels that we go down, such as email marketing partnerships, where we can highly target our audience, just as you can with search engine marketing. But these are people who are really subscribing to get your information. I'm not telling it just because I'm brought to an email, but because we've just seen that it's more efficient. It's a lower cost per lead. It's a lower cost per opportunity. So from a B2B perspective, I've had a different scenario play out, and with us, with our search engine marketing, we really think of it as kind of a partnership with our organic search. So we use it now, which is very different from the organizations I've been in before, but we kind of had to take this different approach. We're in a highly competitive market space. We're one product, that's one product we're talking about. We had to look at it as a partnership. And so for me, search engine marketing versus banner advertising in the traditional sense, search engine marketing definitely outperforms. Banner advertising, whether it's through Google or whether it's through any of your networks, to me does not perform very well, because I think people have started to tune that out versus them going to Google and having expectations there. So for me, I wouldn't say that search engine marketing is always the #1 tool. I think it's a very important tool and it should be part of your program, but I don't know if it's the most efficient across the board every time.
30 seconds for rebuttal.
Yes.
And that's what I said. B2B, it might not, because it's competitive.
It's more fun when we don't agree. I made that comment before. Don't you hate it when all the panel members get up and say the exact same thing? I absolutely hate the question. So I'm going to take offense with you. I don't like Mark's answer, but I know Mark well enough to know that he kind of made a generalization, and I'm going to kind of go into it further. Search is I don't want to call it the worst performing, because on a direct response basis, the best conversion rates, the lowest cost per conversion on a direct response basis, yes, it is, and that's what Mark was saying. But the reality is how do they get to search? I mean, let's be realistic. To me, display advertising is 1,000 times better than search, because nobody is sitting in their cubicle or sitting in a dark room just randomly thinking of thoughts that they're going to search on. There's something from the outside world that came up that caused them to search. So from my standpoint, I look at it and go, display ads are so much better. Now, if you look at a cost metric, the cost per lead, cost per order, whatever you're measuring, is probably going to be a lot cheaper on search, and that's a given. But when you start throwing in the whole marketing mix, the brand effect of everything, you can't build, you can't say you can't build a brand with search, because you can, but you can't build it alone with search. There's got to be outside factors that come into play.
Well, for not liking the question, you should provide a good answer.
Now, I'm going to jump in too. I think that one of the things that we're doing a lot of exposure conversion testing. We're doing a lot of research to understand if a person will get, what are the last 10 interactions with advertising, period, that are driving to that. And we found that in many cases, specifically for BB&T, that people are looking, will click on up to 4 to 5 times on a paid listing. and they get more specific as they go on. So they will search for checking account. The category may have branded itself. So Bank of America or Wells Fargo are advertising checking accounts. People aren't going to necessarily jump in and saying, okay, they're the best checking account. They're going to check things out. They're going to see, they're going to price shop. They're going to do all of these things. So you can actually leverage other people's spends, because we found that many times there are keywords that are very generic, like bank, that will ultimately give those individuals the big play, the scope, what is in the consideration set, and then allow them to further along. So again, I think, I agree with everything that you say. I mean, it all works together, and we're tracking how all that works together and doing some really neat stuff there. But ultimately, when people are, if you have a limited budget and someone is looking for a checking account and you don't have the money to do the brand, you don't have BB in a Bank of America spends, you're a local capital bank or something like that, you might be able to do some local advertising. When people are looking for checking accounts, regardless of whether they know that you're a brand, they're searching for a product. And from that standpoint, all things being equal, that someone looks for a checking account, sees you with a $100 free checking account offer, you will be in their consideration set. And regardless of how they got there, you're going to convert, and it's going to be the most efficient conversions. So, I mean, we can debate this all day long, but and every category will be different. But
I've only got till 1:30.
okay, so I'll be quiet.